everybody. So I wanted to do a quick video. I was at the Take Back Title IX women's rally here in Las Vegas at Stoney's Rock and Country Bar. So that was really fun. I got to meet a lot of new people and everybody was pretty welcoming. I can say that I've had some pushback on Twitter lately with some of the women's conferences that I attend. Keep in mind, I don't blame the feminists for not accepting me, even wanting me there. Like I've discussed this a few times on, maybe not always on my YouTube channel, but like I get it. Like I am the face of the enemy, and that's okay. You know, if feminists don't want me fighting for them, I've talked about that before in other videos. That's their prerogative. That's totally fine with me, and I get it. I 100% get it. Like I said, I don't mean to degrade myself, but yeah, this is like what they're fighting against. But most of them can see through and understand I am on their side. I'm for the good of women. So most of them, even if they are a little bit radical, they're still pretty cool about me being there. But some have, like I said, have made their opinion of me very clear, and that's okay. It doesn't hurt my feelings. And although I say it's okay, like it kind of sucks, like, because I don't want to be like hated by women at all. And like I said, I hate to keep beating a dead horse. I don't blame them, but who wants to be hated? Like, I take hate from my own community, and to be honest, are they really my own community now? And I'm talking about the Gen Z, the younger millennials that just think I'm a bigot, I'm a fascist, I'm a transphobe. Like, they're not in my community, in my opinion. Like, they can just buzz off. Like, I don't need to hear that. They're not, I hate to say this, they're not elder trans, and they haven't gone through what I've gone through, and they're just regurgitating the same old leftist argument of oppression, victim card, minorities, you're going to be forced to detransition. Like, they keep saying the same shit to me over and over and over again. And it just doesn't work. Like, it's not true. And I get frustrated with answering these people. And, you know, my comeback is always like, I don't play the victim card. I don't do the mental gymnastics. You will, just to be in the oppression Olympics. Like, I'll stay out of that. That's their own self-created hell. They're putting themselves in the oppression Olympics, and that's not my game. And I'll take that hate from these younger so-called trans people. I'll take that all day if it means protecting women's sports. I say that all the time. I would gladly give up my rights as a trans person if it meant that there was no more trans inclusion anymore. I'm tired of women getting displaced. And to go back to the point of this next few video clips you're going to see, it breaks my heart, you guys. Like, I'm tired of seeing women get just railroaded by men because men feel a certain way. Like, what is up with that? That just can't be reality. It blows my mind. It can't be real, right? Like, this can't be happening. That these men feel some sort of way that they're willing to just kick women out of their own spaces in sports. Like, you gotta be kidding me with this. So anyway, I wanted to share some of these videos with you, and like I said, each woman got up and gave a speech. There was Coach Blade was there. There was another coach who got fired from the Overton College because she spoke out against trans inclusion, and she lost her job over it. So now she's part of the Independent Women's Forum, which I'm a member of. I support. I donate regularly. I go to these events. I pay my registration fees to help, you know. And Caitlin was there, Riley Gaines was there, Peyton McNabb was there. I got to meet them all, say hi. I didn't get any good pictures with Riley because there were so many, like, I hate to be like this, but newbies in the fight for Title IX that they were like just starstruck by Riley being there. So, but I got to hug Riley and we talked to her a little bit, and she's so busy. I hate to bother her, but I met and talked with Caitlin for a little bit. It was just so busy there. But I'm going to share a few videos. I may not do some commentary in between, but it's just important if you guys can, you hear and you feel the emotion on some of these videos. Hopefully I captured them well, because I was holding my phone and it was like 2 hours of women coming up and giving their stories and telling how they feel. And my hand was getting shaky. And sometimes I was like, oh, I kind of failed on some of the videography. So forgive me, you guys. And
spread the word across the country. If our elected officials in Washington, D.C. do not support these CRAs, they don't represent America's women and girls at all. So I'm here for that. So this is really, before we get to our stellar lineup of female athletes, and that's why you guys are here, we've got athletes and coaches and
moms, dads, coaches, officials, we have to say no right now and uphold the rights of girls in sports here in Nevada today. We will not let them be erased. Thank you.
Hey, you guys are not bad. Okay, I went a little bit louder. Are you ready? Our bodies! Our bodies! Our bodies! Gosh, you guys are good.
Applying for New England's, I was devastated. I knew I had to speak up and ask for fairness be restored to my sport, so at just 16 years old, I started doing national television interviews. At the time, no one else was speaking out on this issue, so I had to become a role model, not only for myself, but for every other girl out there facing the same issue.
By telling the truth is a little bit mixed up. So please tell your friends, every parent, every coach, every athlete, every aunt, every uncle, every administrator. The more people who speak up, the more people have courage. When I spoke up after having been removed from my job and offered a job, as my brother-in-law said, to be a mushroom, they were going to put me in the dark and throw, you know what I mean, that's how mushrooms go. Anyway, when I spoke up after that, everyone said, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, you've been through so much. Every single email I got was in support. I got thousands of emails. My personal cell phone number was what was on Oberlin's website, and I had people calling me from all over the world. Everything was positive. The only negative that I saw was one word on a comment on the amazing documentary that the IWF made, and that word, guess what? It didn't hurt me. I would much rather be called the Barefoot Heart Warrior or the Vicky Love Coach. But know this, we don't need to be afraid. We just need to keep standing up and speaking up. So thank you for being here. By being here, you are all standing up. And we are doing this for you, and for you, and for you. So you can be playing the sports, and you can be in bathrooms and locker rooms and not be afraid. And you can play the things you love. So thank you guys for being here.
Freshman year sports go, you're just trying to figure it out, adapting to the program, and there's another speaker later today, Linnea, that I had the privilege of running with my freshman year. And so we got to run at the conference meet together in the DMR, and this is where we had our first experience of racing against a male, and I was certainly not prepared for my coach telling us that my freshman year that was going to be the case for us. Oh no! And I remember the look on my teammates' faces whenever we were told that this was going to happen, and it was complete and total defeat. But so indoor season started going great, and my times were dropping, and I was running faster than I ever had before. And then that was when we showed up to the conference meet, and the male athlete was there, and we realized that it was actually going to be happening. So I was the first leg of the relay, and I still remember how fast that race went out my freshman year. And I dug deep, gave everything I had in me, and I handed off the baton and stood on the infield screaming and cheering for my teammates. On the last leg, I heard something that filled me with confusion, and then anger, and then sadness, and it was the words, "Slow down." These words came from the coach of the male athlete while he was running the final leg of the relay. And these are not words that are yelled by a coach at a track meet ever. In my 21 years of running, I've never heard an athlete or ever heard a coach tell an athlete to slow down during a race. My heart sank, and I looked around, and everybody was in complete disbelief of what they had heard from the coach. So I heard someone say the other day that we must not only be the role models for this generation, but also the heroes for generations to come. And like the young athletes and future female athletes, we too were once standing in their shoes with our own big dreams. So I'm using my voice here today in hopes that future generations of female athletes don't have to. I hope that they don't have to face a male athlete like I did, and I pray they have fairness and equal opportunity. I'm pro sports and I'm pro women. Thank you.
That's my friend Paula.
Thank you everyone for being here. It has been wonderful traveling across the country, speaking to you guys, sharing these stories, being with all these wonderful different women at all different stages of life. So thank you for joining us on this journey and being here. I'm going to try to keep this brief, but we all know too well that men are taking opportunities from women, whether not only just being in sports, but in other spaces and other opportunities. But I'm just going to share really briefly why this is so important to me. I was a swimmer at the University of Pennsylvania, where we were told that a member of the men's team was going to be transitioning to the women's team, and he joined our team. He changed our locker room 18 times every single week, and when we tried to tell the athletes...
That's fucking insane. Who the fuck went along with that? Seriously. Sorry. Real time, I could have never gotten a fucking locker room fight now. Call it what you want.
Thank you. Well, a lot of us didn't even realize what's happening until it was already happening to us. And so in this experience, when we tried to tell the athletic department at the university that we were not comfortable with this, we didn't like that he was breaking every single record on our team, they told us, do not speak about it, keep your mouth shut, never bring it up. Oh, and if you continue to have problems with it, please seek psychological services because you need therapy. And so it was so completely crazy, and we're in a time in this country now where if you are a woman and you're saying, I'm not comfortable having all my records broken, I'm not comfortable losing my opportunities, I'm not comfortable undressing next to a fully intact 6'4" tall male, you need therapy. So again, this is really why this issue is so important. Us women are taking this back. We're also taking back Title IX and what it was originally stood for, because the way Title IX was written was not to allow Leah Thomas to be on our team and be in our locker room. So I think we're really now in the time where we have to do this, and this is for the next generation. Myself and many of the other speakers now are not still current athletes. Most of us have graduated or are retired or whatever it might be. And so this is about the next generation of athletes and making sure they have the same opportunities. Because I know that if this happened to me when I was in high school, I never would have become a Division I athlete. So that's what we're here for. We need to remember that.
This is a story that's very familiar to Riley and Paula's. This individual had competed at the University of Montana for 3 years as a man, decided to redshirt his 4th year at University of Montana and come back as a female, as a 5th year student athlete. At the time, I was the Big Sky Conference champion in the 800 meter with a time of 2 minutes and 5 seconds, and this individual had posted a time of 1 minute and 55 seconds as a male and now wanted to come and compete as a female. As fortunate as I was through Title IX to be able to receive a scholarship, to do what I wanted to do, to be the athlete that I always dreamed of being, those rights are now being stripped away for the future generation, and it is not fair. The NCAA has turned their backs on us time and time again, and now the current presidential administration is doing the same exact thing. I'm so grateful to be here with amazing women, amazing athletes, amazing advocates in this space to take back Title IX, and I really appreciate all of you coming out here and showing our support for this insanely important issue, and I cannot thank all of you enough. So thank you.
Awesome, I can barely see you all. I want to talk a little bit about moral courage today, because we all need to screw ours up right now, and it's not going to be easy, but it's necessary. If we don't do it, the craziest, loudest, most bullying voices will be left to have the mic as they have been. We can't let that happen. I want, with my new brand, which you guys can check out at the end, I don't want to push it too much, I just want to talk about what it is we're trying to do. We are the only athletic brand that is standing up for female athletes in women's sports. No one else is doing it. I looked around at all the other athletic brands, Nike, Lulu, etc. None of them. They all pretend to stand up for women and they don't do it. So we are going to do it. Check out the product. It'll start a conversation everywhere you go, I promise. I was an elite gymnast as a child. I was a national champion in 1986. It's a brutal, brutal sport, as you probably all know at this point. I retired in 1988, and I was kind of a mess, I'm not going to lie, and under a lot of abuse. But I want to say this, obedience was drilled into us in this sport. We were supposed to be seen and not heard. It took me 20 years to find my voice and to stand up for myself. I wrote a book about the abuse in the sport, and I was dragged across the internet. But I will tell you this, after 20 years it took me to find my voice, I am certainly not going to be quiet now, and neither should you. Do not let the name calling keep you quiet. It's designed to keep you quiet. It's not a real argument. Ignore it. I survived it, and so will you. So I'm here to say to you today, if you think the truth matters, and you know because it is true that male and female bodies are different, you need to stand up right now. If you know that it isn't fair or safe, that women deserve privacy, safety, and fairness, it's time to stand up and stand with us. Do not be cowed by those who will call you a bigot. You're not a bigot because you believe in material reality. Do not let men tell us how to be good girls. Don't bend to that type of misogyny. That's all it is. Don't let others tell you you need to be quiet, sit down, and be nice. I'm not going to do it, and neither should you. It is nice to further a lie. It's not mean to stand up for women and girls. We deserve our own sports. We deserve our own locker rooms. We deserve the chance to compete. We deserve the chance to win.
Amen.
I will tell you right now, the governing bodies are not going to do it. The NCAA is not going to do it. The USOPC isn't going to do it. They aren't going to do it unless their hand is forced. I've been through this before. They didn't do it with abuse in gymnastics. They're not going to do it this time either. We have come too far to turn back now. So stand up today. Stand with us. You will not stand alone, I promise you. You will stand shoulder to shoulder with all of the women here today. I promise you. Thank you.
My daughter thanks you.
So tell your daughter that I say hi. It's super cool to be able to see all of you guys, to see young female athletes. Really, that is exactly what it's about. You never know the reception you're going to get, right? And going to Vegas, I'm like, I don't know, but you guys are just the best. More supported and encouraged here than I did in San Francisco a few months ago. But that's no surprise. I hope all of you used your constitutional right yesterday. Lots of really good stuff going on here at this street. Lots of big wins yesterday. Great stuff. But look, I'm not going to bore you guys with my story. I'm sure some of you are relatively familiar. I did, as Victoria just said, as Victoria just said, I did just have a book came out. I just found out it was on the national bestseller list. So you can check that out. But you might be familiar with Thomas. You heard from Paula, who was a dear friend and, of course, a wonderful advocate and warrior in this fight. You might be familiar with how we raced, how we tied down to the 100th of a second, which is mildly embarrassing for a 6'4" man, might I add. You beat me. The trophy scenario, despite tying, the NCAA said, hey, well, we have to give the trophy to Leah. We've been advised that when photos are being taken, it's crucial that the trophy's in Leah's hands. You might know that, you might not know, or some of you might, what the locker room situation looked like. Being forced to undress with a 6'4" man, fully intact, fully exposing himself. I imagine you don't know the feelings of betrayal, the feelings of utter violation. Of course, it's awkward, it's embarrassing, it's uncomfortable.
Everybody should be locked up. We'll take that.
I agree with that, which is why we're here. It's why we're pushing back. So totally. The silencing aspect, some of you might not know what that looked like. How we were muzzled, us as young girls, how we were told that we would be equivalent to murderers if we spoke up about this, how we would have blood on our hands, how we would lose our scholarship. You would lose your friends and your family. You know, you won't get into grad school, right? Like, isn't that what you want to do? Don't you want to be a dentist? You'll never be a dentist if you speak up about this. You'll never get a job. Your employer's going to look you up and see that you're a transphobe. And you don't want that, do you? No, so I suggest you be kind and I suggest you be inclusive. I could go on for hours, really, just about that piece in particular. So all of that, of course, that's a very condensed and short version, but that's the how I got here. But more importantly than the how is the why, right? And it's a question I think we should all be asking ourselves. Why is this happening? which as a Christian myself, I feel entirely confident in answering why this is happening. Because the Bible tells us why this is happening. We're warned that we will reach a point where these spiritual battles intensify, and dark is seen as light, and bitter is seen as sweet, and evil is seen as moral. And that's undeniable that that's not where we're at right now. And look, that's not me saying that I think people who identify as trans are evil. No, of course I don't think that. But deceit is evil, and manipulation is evil, and lying and affirming delusions, that's evil, and who's the father of lies, and who moves through darkness and in deceit? God's opposition does. We live in a world where, of course, the world tells us love is love, but our Bible tells us God is love. The world tells you live your truth, but no, the Bible says Jesus is the truth. I can keep going, I'll get off my soapbox. But from a worldly perspective, right, why? Asking ourselves why. Why do I so fiercely and so passionately want to defend this topic? Let's be very clear. This is so much broader than just women's sports. This is so much broader than me not being able to hold the little $5 production trophy on the podium. It's so much bigger than that. The premise here, this issue, the gender ideology movement as a whole, is that we're denying, yes, biblical truth, but objective truth. Biological reality, the most basic of truths. A truth we have never struggled to understand in the nearly 250 years we've been established as a country, and certainly much longer than that, and that truth being man and woman. The tippy top. The people in the White House right now, and of course stemming all the way down, not only are telling us to deny this truth, but they're telling us to believe something entirely different, something that is simply untrue. We're being told to say 2 + 2 is 5. And if you've read 1984, which don't lie and say you read it for any other reason than school, we all had to read it for school, then you know what this means, you know what the outcome of this really is. Not to mention, right, this whole shift in language that we've seen. It's no longer woman or mother or female. No, it's like cervix haver or uterus donor or menstruator or bleeder or chest feeder or birthing person, birth giver, egg producer. Again, the list goes on. I think it's hilarious. Mr. Rachel Levine, the Assistant Secretary of Health, he calls women egg producers, which is so comical because by his own standard, he would not be a woman. Exactly. But I rest my case. We even have a sitting Supreme Court justice who can't even answer the question of what is a woman because she claims she's not a biologist. Well, guess what? I'm not a veterinarian, but I know what a dog is. That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. No surprise, but this is the same Supreme Court justice who in recent weeks, in an interview, she said she felt like our First Amendment rights were hamstringing the government. Precisely. That is precisely what our First Amendment rights are supposed to do. That's why we have the Bill of Rights. And if our government can't understand or abide by that, that's precisely why we have the Second Amendment. Now, anyways, all this to say, we see the shift in language. We're seeing how this is affecting prisons and sororities. The list goes on. Again, to just reiterate, it's so much more than sharing a placement with a boy. That's the premise here. We heard from Peyton the safety aspect of this, another part to it. And you've heard many times, it's sitting right here behind me in big yellow letters of Title IX, what this really means. How it's given me the opportunities to achieve and succeed in the way that I have. But what the Biden administration has done is the most anti-woman, anti-reality pursuit we have seen from this administration thus far. And that's saying a lot. Amen. They took this 37 words in its original implementation, only 37 words back in 1972, a short paragraph. One word being activity, which allowed Title IX to be what it's most notable for, which is giving equal opportunity in sports. But he took this 37 words, rewrote it, created a new proposal that's almost 500,000 words, almost 500,000 words, 1,577 pages from 37 words. That should tell you everything you need to know. But in short, what he's done here is equate sex with gender identity, saying they're the same thing, they're synonymous even, they're interchangeable, eliminating sex-based protections and sex-based rights. So, men have full access to bathrooms, locker rooms, changing spaces. Men can take academic and athletic scholarships away from women. Men can be housed in dorm rooms with women. Your speech would be compelled. You would be forced, you, a student or a coach or a professor, you would be forced to use biologically incorrect but preferred pronouns. And if you don't, or if you, a 17-year-old girl, go off to college for the first time, away from your family, you're housed with a male in your dorm room, if this is something you feel uncomfortable with, and merely go to your administrator and request a new roommate. Under this new rewrite, you would be guilty and charged with sexual harassment. No, not the man parading around your locker room. No, to President Biden, that's considered brave. He said it many times. He says, these are the most brave and inspiring people I've ever met. But you, calling a spade is grounds for sexual harassment.
Let's go, Brandon.
And so, let me tell you the message that's being communicated loud and clear. Again, from the president, from legislators here in this state, even you guys are lucky to have people who do fight for you, but that's not the case for every legislator. Understand, even the ones by with an R by their name, okay? The message that we're being told is that we are not worthy as women. We're not worthy of safety. We're not worthy of privacy in our areas of undressing. We're not worthy of equal opportunity. We're not worthy of maintaining our dignity. No, that doesn't matter to President Biden. What matters to him, why we exist, is to validate the feelings and the identity of a man. That's what our purpose is. But I will say, which sounds grim, it sounds chilling, a lot of the stuff, a lot of the stories that you've heard, and yes, again, they're terrible, unfortunate things that should have never happened. But I'm able to continue on with a smile on my face and an incredibly light heart because, again, the battle has already been won. I feel more hopeful now than I've felt these past 2 years at any point. We have seen over 20 states now suing the Biden administration and the Department of Education, which is there was a big one in Texas just yesterday by Attorney General Paxton surrounding Title IX and halting its implications. Myself and 15 other athletes are now suing the NCAA for failing a federal space rules, which is really the first of its kind type of lawsuit. So lots of good things are happening. I think we're going to see a lot of this stuff. The pendulum will restore itself come November for sure. But if I could leave you with anything, first of all, it's to say trust God's calling for you. I by no means felt prepared for this scenario that I've been thrusted into. I knew nothing about our government, and when I say nothing, like I knew nothing. I knew we had 3 branches. Didn't know what they did. I still don't know what they do. I don't even think they know what they do, to be totally honest with you. My public speaking courses in college, my face turned the color of a tomato. By no means did I feel prepared for this, but I understand now. I was wrong in assuming that God calls those who are already equipped. That's not what he does. No, he equips those who he calls. And if he brings you to it, he will certainly bring you through it. So trust is calling for you, number one. Secondly, is to not wait until you're directly impacted to take a stand, which is exactly what I did. I waited. I didn't think this was a fight for me. I thought someone else will handle it. Surely the adults in the room, right? The coach will say something. Someone within the NCAA, someone with political power, some other swimmer, someone's dad would come down there and yank this man out of our locker rooms. That's what I thought. Until I realized if I'm not even willing to stand up for myself, how in the world can I expect someone else to stand up for me? But it took me being impacted before I realized that. Don't let that happen to you. If each and every single one of us waited until us or someone we loved, our daughters, had to be impacted, had to lose out on an opportunity, to be exploited in a locker room or injured even in her sport, it's far too late. We hear from the other side all the time, right? Be compassionate. Be inclusive. Have empathy. Empathy and compassion and inclusivity are wonderful things in their true meaning. But they have manipulated these words. These words have been corrupted and have lost their meaning entirely. Because let me tell you, it is not compassionate to ask a young girl to undress in front of a man. That is not what compassion is. And no, it's not inclusive to ask us to smile and step aside and allow these men onto our podiums. That is not what inclusion is. No, that's exclusion, and it's exclusive to the very female athletes who Title IX was passed and created to celebrate, protect, and honor. And so when I'm speaking of this and I hear this, and I get told I'm hateful, I get called everything under the sun. The National Organization of Women now, right? The leading feminist group for the past 67 years, they wore the hats, they fought for Title IX, sexual liberation and reproductive rights and all the things, the group. They released an article like a week, 2 weeks ago that said I was a white supremacist patriarchist. I don't even know what that means. So I'm called everything under the sun. Called everything under the sun. But in my heart, there is no hatred for any single person in my heart. I remind myself of the phrase true love and what that really means. Understand those words are synonymous, truth and love. It's loving to say the truth. That is what love is. And so, very excited to see all of you guys. Again, as you know, Nevada, and I learned how to say it. Nevada is an important state, so you guys are at the forefront. This is the battleground that needs to be won, and so to see you all here is very exciting. And so just very appreciative. Make sure you continue following along with the work that we are doing, coast to coast, border to border. It has been a whirlwind I'll finish here. I could talk forever also. I had an opposite reaction to Kamala Harris seeing my face on a bus. So, but anyways, very grateful for you guys. I hope you enjoy.
Okay, so like I said, you can feel the emotion, and I thank you guys for tuning in and watching the video. If you did get through the whole thing, there's one more tidbit. Like, this is kind of old news now, but Leah Thomas's lawsuit against the IOC, the International Olympic Committee, which was keeping Leah Thomas out because the World Aquatics changed their rules, and the IOC, the Olympics, have to follow whatever the national or the worldwide sanctioning body is for that sport. And since aquatics said biological sex only categories, Will Thomas was excluded from competing on the women's Olympic team, and he took the Olympic Committee to court with a judge and I assume, I don't know, probably just judge, to say, hey, I've been on hormones, I deserve to be a woman because I feel like a woman and I should be in the women's division. Well, the court said no. They said no to Leah Thomas. So Will Thomas is now officially required to compete in the men's division if he wants to compete in the swimming. Now, I want everybody, if you're still watching, I appreciate this. So from now on, we have to be good with our language. We can't say Will Thomas is banned. Like, don't use that word. Just say he will be required to compete in the men's division now. That's what we have. That's how we have to word it. We give them ammunition against us, to use against us. So, and what I mean by that is they'll say, see, you guys hate trans people because you just banned us from everything. No, we didn't ban you from anything. We just told you you need to compete in your biological sex category. That's it. Nobody got banned. He can still compete in the men's division. So he's not banned. He's just required to stay in his biological sex category. That's it. That's how we word this, and that's how we win this battle, you guys. That's how we protect women's sports. So I appreciate you guys tuning in, and thank you. See you on the next one.